Thank you for tuning in to the Mortgage Innovators Podcast. Before we get into today's episode, we want to remind you that the Mortgage Innovators Conference 2023 Innovators Unite will be held June 14th and 15th at the Hilton Anaheim. Sponsorship opportunities are now open, and if you want more information, head to mortgageinnovators.com/conference to keep up to date. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Mortgage Innovators Podcast. My name is Margaret Chiavini with Newrez Correspondent Lending, and we are very happy that you're here with us today. I am honored to have Michael Guidotti from American Pacific join me as our co-host today. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Margaret.
And we have a really fun episode, and our special guest is the one and only Josh Friend with Accelerate. Hi, Josh.
Hey, Margaret. Hey, Michael. Thanks for having me.
And we actually heard that there's another Josh Friend, and
Yeah.
He almost shares your birthday, and you're going to find out a little more info on that. So,
He's 2 days older than I am.
wow. Okay.
And he was from Huntington Beach, where I was from, and at the same gym. So, yes, that is true.
All right. Well, in another episode, we're going to find out more about that. Okay. Well, let's jump right in. So 2023, here we are. And, the number 23 is very special for sports aficionados because it was Michael Jordan's number. And Michael Jordan, of course, is really known as, probably one of the greatest athletes of all time. And so we're going to think about in this episode, how do we help our originator, lender listeners make 2023 their Jordan year? So let's just get right into it. So Josh, you've just come back from the IMB 2023. And we would love to hear what you're hearing from your clients. And what I'd like you to do is to kind of think about it from the perspective of the sports take, which is what are the practices that they're in? So can you share with us from your clients, everybody needs more volume. We know that the volume always starts with the leads. So what practices can loan officers put into place to generate more leads? You live and breathe this, so you're kind of an expert.
I think, if you're using the Jordan as the analogy, and I don't know if you've watched the HBO special on Jordan, I think it was, 7 rings, 8 rings, whatever it was called. The one thing that, he did was on the off season, he worked as hard or harder than he did during the season, right? So there's a period of time when Jordan decided that he got pushed around by the Pistons, so they're going to start lifting weights in the off season. Everyone started lifting weights with them. And the analogy with that would be is volumes are down now. And so sometimes lenders are ask themselves, what should they be doing? What should I be doing? Well, what you should be doing is working just as hard or harder, but just figuring out what areas you can improve on, right? And I think a lot of loan officers, an area that can be easily improved on is just customer experience. What does my communication actually look like to my customer? Someone comes to me for a loan. How does that transaction go? How often do I talk to them? Does it sound right? And perfect what you want that experience to be, because that's going to increase conversion. And if you can, as you're in the off season, what happened after Jordan's team worked out for the year? They came back, and the next year they pushed the Pistons around, right? So it was when the market gets back to normal rate, you're now in a place to take advantage of it and be more efficient.
That's fabulous. Hey, Michael, kind of from a originator's perspective, how does that resonate with you and your production hat?
Yeah, I love it because, I think it's, there's things that we can control and things that we can't control, right? And so I think it's, this off season that Josh is referring to, let's focus on things we can control. We can't control the rates. We know that, we've talked about that, but what we can control is our business practices that we have in place. So, getting back to your basics, right, is, your practice sessions. Are you time blocking time every, week for your prospecting calls? and prospecting for both borrowers and agents. Getting back to those things, the last couple of years were the championship years, right? Everybody's, doing the best that they've probably ever done. They won back-to-back rings in a sense. And, now we just went through, we didn't make the playoffs. So now it's really grinding back to those practice sessions, getting back to your bare roots. And again, what's setting you apart from the other, 10 loan officers that's calling that same agent every day? What's setting you apart from the 15 lenders that are marketing to those clients, every day for that limited source of business that's out there right now, so that when things do, stabilize, you're front and center and you're ready to go win.
I love that. Thank you, Josh, for bringing up that practicing in the off season. I recently had the honor of listening to a panel of top performers, and this woman was talking about, she has 4 sons, and all of them were very athletic, but one was particularly gifted and skilled. And she was reflecting, and what she realized was that what that one son did that the others didn't do is practiced in the off season. So I think that is just absolutely dynamite. Thank you for that. So Josh, now we have the leads. What do you do to nurture them in this market? They're obviously precious. And then Can you talk to us a little bit about what technologies are available for lenders to use in order to nurture those leads?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that we're seeing, and I think part of the previous question too, is what are our lenders doing? Our lenders that are growing, we have lenders that are still growing right now, and they are making money, and they're expanding. They're not making as much as they were, but they're still making money and doing okay. They're the most diligent users of our platform. So now's as important as a time. So a year ago, your follow-up skills, your nurture, your long-term nurture type things didn't really matter as much, because you couldn't even handle all the people who are asking for a loan at the moment. Right now, those things count more than ever. Every loan counts, right? There's only so many people that can get a loan, that are going to qualify for a loan or want to buy a loan. You have to make sure you get as much of that as possible. So you have to be as efficient as possible. So what we're seeing is those lenders really look at, how do I improve my communication with my customer? I encourage lenders here to go to our website, and you can download our MBA contact study. We've now that we're currently doing it again for the 5th year, but we've done it for four different years. Each year we survey between 500 to 700 mortgage companies. We go to their website, we apply for a mortgage, and then we time how long it takes for them to reach out to call us, email us, or text us. And what we find is, in all 4 years, this last year was the best it's ever been. It was 45% of leads never got followed up with, not even a single time. Right? The average, it's insane. And the average response time is 19 hours, which means it takes a full day, right, on average. And the average time that a lead got followed up with was 1.3 times. And that's only by half the lenders. So most leads only got followed up one. I mean, just you look at that, and these are top lenders in our country. Right? This is a list of, based off of loan volumes, et cetera. And it's pretty amazing that that's the type of follow-up that's going on right now. So I think, I look at something like that and I go, fantastic, because that's an easy thing you can improve. So there's technology out there. Obviously, Accelerate sells technology that does this, that automates those practices. So someone raises their hand, whether they're a real estate agent that's contacting you for something, or a loan off, or a borrower coming into the pipe, you're gonna be able to track that, manage it, and then they're gonna have automation built around it. So if a lead comes in, someone raises their hand, you're gonna guarantee a phone call gets made, a text message gets sent, an email gets sent, and it's reported on. And you can look at call logs. So all the types of things that you need to ensure you're actually contacting your customer. And I think that's what, lenders, here's a great thing to do. Shop yourself right now. Go online and apply for a mortgage, and watch the practice and see what happens. See how quickly it takes you. What does the email look like that you get? Is it real generic? Is it formatted correctly? Do you even get one? How long does it take to get that email? Do you get a phone call? Do you get a text? See what the experience is for yourself, and go through the process. And what is it like to sign your own disclosures? Do a loan with yourself, and you may find some major hold where you go, oh, what I always say is when you do that and you find some areas of improvement, be excited about it. First, you may be upset that, gee whiz, I can't believe we're doing it this way, but then go, great. Because if I fix that, I know I can do better, right? And if you're a lender, if you look at everything and you're doing everything perfect, then, there's nothing else to do, right? You can't improve your business anymore. And, obviously no one does everything perfect. So there's always areas to improve. But those are areas I'd be looking at right now. Is where are those holes? Shop yourself, understand what the experience is. What did your borrower go through? Because that's going to, listen, if when I was a lender, and I was a lender for years, what I can tell you about complaints was, customers that were really happy would say, my loan officer is always available, was there when I needed them, communicated, told me exactly what was going to go on, and it's all about communication. And all the complaints that I would ever get that were about other things, there was one common theme in 99% of them. And it went something like this. I called my loan officer after repeated time, and they never called me back. And like that is so often, that is what drove major complaints. Because if you are a loan officer, if you're a customer and you're calling your loan officer and they're not calling you back, and you're not happy with the service, well, what's your choice? It's call a CFPB, call to the bank, and it's to file a complaint. So again, that's communication, right? So you as a lender, if you just improve your communication, you can drastically improve, your customer satisfaction, which, obviously customers are happy with you. You should probably retain more customers. You'll probably be able to win more customers in the process. Obviously not everyone's going to refinance this year, but some will, right? And some are going to buy a new home. Some are going to move. Some are going to buy a second home. And so the service still really matters right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of really good information in what Josh just said. I think for me, when we talk about the nurturing in this market, and the technology that can be used, there's so much technology, out there, from a variety of different spaces. But I think it's really, that layered approach, right, is, the mixing, the automation that Josh talked about. That's what really allows us to get, to the broad scope of people. But I think it's also then, layering in that personalization. What are you doing with that automation? Are you going in to see, your open rates on things? Are you going in to see if people are replying back to, the emails and the things that you're sending out? There's, again, you can go and see how many people opened it. Did people mark it as unsubscribed? That's another way to see, is your content, is it penetrating, the audience that you're trying to reach out to? And then I think it's really, the notes, using the information that you have on the clients that you've talked to, keeping those notes, when's their kids' birthdays, when's certain, key events, so that then you have those reference points when you do your prospecting, you do your follow-ups, when you're doing those check-ins, because I think that's what sets people apart from, the masses that are just carpet bombing them with, 20 emails. To Josh's point, when you're talking about even applying for a loan, I even take it one step further. What does your birthday message look like? And I think we've talked about this in, a past thing is, are you sending a video out, or are you, go in on your own birthday and look at the amount of emails that flood your inbox, and, how general a lot of them are. Just those little things that I think to set people apart, because I think as you do implement more and more technology, a lot of people have that. So everybody is getting, contacted by somebody. So how does your message or your content stand out from all the other things that are flooding people's inboxes?
Yeah, fantastic. And, I love how you've summed everything up to communication. I mean, and we've talked on a lot of these episodes how critical that is, not just to the borrower, but the intercommunication between, the tech stacks, and how everything is working in concert to promote really good communication. And then I absolutely love this idea, Josh, of shop yourself. What a great idea. And then to be excited if you find something that's wrong, that's, I really appreciate that. And then, Michael, what you really triggered for me were standard practices. In other words, have standard practices. You've got the automation, but then do you have a standard practice of reviewing the reports? What should you pay attention to? What do you care about? And I think that that's all super powerful. And of course, it goes back to practicing in the off season. which is neat. So, Josh, one more question that I think would be very interesting to our listeners, and that is, if you were to pick kind of the number one strategy that you would start implementing in 2023 that would kind of guarantee you more volume, what would you pick?
That's a pretty big question to answer with one idea. I think it's going to be a term, and it's data management. I would pick the strategy of making sure I understand all the data coming in and out of my organization, around the loan, around the customer. And do I have the systems in place to manage that data, report on that data, and automate things off that data? Right. I think that's a big, I can look at lenders on our platform that are growing, and I can see things that they do that are different than others. And what I can tell you is one of the lenders does between 8 to 10 million database inquiries a month, 8 to 10 million API calls a month, 8 to 10 million webhook automated triggers. And we're talking like 30 million plus, a million automations a day. They're managing their data insanely, and they're the ones that are actually rapidly still growing right now. So you look at that, is how do you manage your data? And it's everything from the phone to the LOS, to the POS, to the pricing engine, to a data warehouse, to if you have an ERP system, does it all talk? Does it all interact with one another? And is it all, the data, is it fluid? I think it's probably what I would look at, is managing that data.
That's fabulous. And we've been hearing for a long time that the single most important asset class is data or information. So I think that's brilliant. Michael, any just sort of last minute thoughts on that?
I can't, that's a really good one. I can't take the same one that Josh just said. So for me, what I would say is maybe a little bit more at, really, I'd say the lender and the loan officer level, but from the personal side is really revisiting and rebranding your unique value proposition. I think when you partner that with the data that Josh just talked about, so I guess it's kind of a cop-out because now it's two strategies, but I think really having your value proposition, what you're providing to your clients, and then leveraging the data to help promote that and target the right audiences. I think that those are strategies that are really going to set people apart in 2023.
Yeah, very, very powerful. Well, gentlemen, we are coming to the end of our episode. And Josh, thank you very much. You certainly are a friend to this industry in so many ways. And we really appreciate your insights and sharing, some of the strategic ways to think about how to make 2023 a Jordan year. And Michael, of course, always a pleasure to be on this podcast with you. So thank you so much. And for our listeners, thank you for tuning into this episode. And until next time.